and welcome to episode 3 of the Beyond Fear podcast. I'm Jen Coppock, and today we're going to be looking at training for an Ironman whilst taking Mounjaro or Ozempic. It could actually be any sort of endurance ultra challenge. It doesn't have to just be specifically 140.6 miles triathlon. It can be anything related to cardiovascular endurance, lasting many hours. So covering quickly, what is Mounjaro? You probably know if you're watching this. It's a peptide that binds receptors to cells in the pancreas and the digestive tract. The purpose is to slow down digestion, level off your blood sugars to control insulin. It's like Ozempic version 2. It's got a little bit extra. It's supposed to have less side effects as well. So one of the problems that people experience with Mounjaro or Ozempic are the side effects. So typically side effects tend to be GI issues, so gastrointestinal. So you're looking at nausea, constipation, or diarrhea. They are pretty much the 3 typical ones. Fatigue tends to be a common one, which I'll cover shortly. So this podcast is going to be pretty much my experience on it, so this year I started taking it about just over a month before I did a 70.3 triathlon. And then I had about a 2-month gap and did the full iron distance on Sunday at Outlaw in Nottingham. So big shout out. If you're in the UK and thinking of doing a triathlon, this is not sponsored. If you're in the UK and thinking of doing a full distance Ironman triathlon, Ironman is the brand, but 146 miles. I highly recommend Outlaw Fall in Nottingham. It's a fantastic atmosphere. It's a lot cheaper than other brand versions. And it's I don't want to say it's easy. It's a lot less stress than other triathlons, full distance, going abroad, having the faff of taking bikes. It's relatively flat as well. It's always been a scorcher of a day whenever I've been there. I know that's not always true. It is British weather at the end of the day. But, I highly recommend you go check them out if you're thinking of doing one and fancy an awesome challenge to work towards. So looking at my personal journey, I started taking it about 4 or 5 weeks before my half distance. I haven't counted a single calorie. I lost 2 stone in 2 months, not counting any calories. Not going on a strict diet. The only thing that I really deliberately changed was we had quite big dinner plates, and I insisted to my husband we had to buy small, pretty plates that felt like a treat, like we're going to have these small, little, pretty plates. And then it would stop me overeating. So the biggest thing I'd find with Mounjaro and any sort of endurance training is fueling. We all know with anything long distance, anything over sort of 1 to 2 hours, you've really got to nail your fueling. If you don't fuel properly, you're going to have a decrease in your energy levels. So that's going to cause fatigue and a drop in performance. There's going to be muscle weakness, the signs of you're going to get cramping, your endurance, so, you struggle to maintain a pace, possibly even becoming unable to finish. It impairs your cognitive function. So what that means is, you can't think clearly, which in case of an Ironman, you want to be on the bike with a clear head. You want to be keeping an eye on any potholes. If you're in the UK, it's loads of them. You need to be on your guard. You need to be making sure, that you're going the right way, that you haven't missed a turning, that you've seen everything you need to do. Keeping an eye on what you've had, what you've eaten, what you've had hydration wise. Incorrect fueling. Honestly, one of the biggest things is digestive issues. So feeling sick, needing to go to the toilet, either for it to come out of one end or the other, and stomach cramps. Stomach cramps are not fun, especially during a big race and you're going to be out there for hours and you've got stomach cramps from the get-go. Not fun. And it can lead to recovery delays. So it can take longer to recover after the event, and you can feel more sore because you haven't fueled correctly. So looking at my personal challenges, when I did the 70.3, I didn't fuel correctly. I'd been taking Mounjaro for 4 or 5 weeks. Probably 4 weeks. 4 to 5 weeks I've been taking it. And normally I'm quite good. I constantly think about food. And normally I'd be quite good at carving up, making sure I'm eating plenty, 4 days before the event. I'd be ramping up, especially carbohydrates, a lot of bread, pasta, potatoes. I'd be really sort of packing in the food a few days running up. I didn't do that. I kept forgetting to eat. And I know it's it sounds silly, but you get to 1 o'clock and you sort of think, oh shit, what time is it? Oh my God, I've missed lunch. I better eat something. And I was forcing myself to eat, and it'd be like, oh, I'll just have something small because I don't really fancy anything. So I was forcing myself to eat. I was forcing myself to eat a lot of nutritious food. My method of eating has been to promote variety. So I'm trying to avoid eating the same food more than once in a day. So trying to have a good variety of nutrition, of good food. But I was forgetting to eat. So it's constantly staying on top. And then, you wouldn't want to eat too much. And, as well, you're getting the weight loss and you're feeling good. I think I lost about just under 1.5 stone, I think, before I did the half in that sort of month. I felt great. And, my weight had been going up and up and up. And then I started taking the Mounjaro and everything just started coming off. But I didn't eat in the run up. Also, when I got on the bike on the half, I normally had a plan and I had been practicing my plan, but I wasn't able to eat the volume that I was normally eating. I just couldn't face it. And I was like, you know what? I don't need this. So I didn't. Kept my fluids up though. And then I hadn't really planned anything for the run. So I just kind of did what I did last year and just used the aid stations as I was going around. They had like bananas. I got Outlaw, another shout out to Outlaw. They have fantastic aid stations. The volunteers are brilliant. They have a good variety. So like flat, warm Coke. It's always scorching whenever I go to Nottingham for these events. Coke, High Five, electrolytes, water. They had crisps and Jaffa cakes at the full. So, there's, and bananas. So I was just like literally lived off bananas all the way around on the half. I did okay. And I felt quite good. I finished strong. I felt good. And then I saw my times and it was like, oh, I thought I'd actually done better than that. I felt good. And I'd lost weight. I should have been faster. And there was just this, I thought I'd have been better than that really. But anyway, it was fine because it was practice for the full. So, it's all cool. I learned a lot. And that's why I sort of thought, I'm going to have to come off the peptides ready for the full. And then I went back on them. So moving on to the full, what happened with that was I carb loaded this time. So because my body had got used to it, I'd been on it for a lot longer now, so like three to 4 months. So on the full, now I didn't do the swim because blue-green algae meant that the swim was cancelled for like the first time ever in any of the Outlaws. They cancelled the swim. It was too high. The levels were too high. So we did a 5K run. I had my malt loaf. That's what I normally eat on the bike. So I had my malt loaf and I introduced a flapjack. Now I had trained with flapjack. So I had a flapjack on the hour. And the idea was I'd have not a big flapjack, just a bit of a flapjack. I started having a gurgly tummy after the flapjack. Now I think I probably just overconsumed. So it might have just been me, just panicking and doing too much. But it could have been Mounjaro in that, better. It's almost like, because it levels off your blood sugars and stabilizes everything. It's like you don't really need to eat whilst you're on it, but then your performance drops. So it's very difficult and it's going to be very individual on your approach with it. I think I had too much. You're supposed to have 60 to 90 grams per hour. To be honest, I probably had way too much in that first hour, and that was probably the problem. But every time I tried to eat after my tummy started gurgling, or even just, sports drink, it'd gurgle more. And I realized if I wanted to get round and complete, I wasn't going to be able to run the marathon. I was going to have to walk it. And I walked it, and it was absolutely fine. I walked it, nice, strong, brisk pace. I managed to, I had a couple of people join me. They were struggling to run walks, so they just joined me. We walked and chatted and had a laugh, and it was great. And we got round. So that was really memorable. And I ate really well actually at the aid stations. I even went to the toilet and had a couple of big wheeze. So I knew that I wasn't dehydrated. But yeah, whenever I tried to do a little run for the camera or anything like that, my tummy would gurgle. So I'm pretty certain I made the right call. I think if I tried to run any of it, I'd have just ended up in the Portiloo and white as a sheet and not able to complete. But we're all individual. It might have just been that I just overwhelmed, made a rookie mistake on my first iron distance, and I just overwhelmed my system too fast with panicking because we weren't doing the swim, we were doing the run. So I'm thinking, right, well, fuel up a little bit for that whilst you're getting on the bike. Or it could have been linked to Mounjaro because it does handle all your gastro issues differently. It changes everything. So anyway, enough about me. Practical tips on what you can do to make your life easier if you're taking Mounjaro and doing endurance training or racing. So maybe adjusting your dose. So normally you have the 4 weeks 2.5, 4 weeks 5. I'd say stay low and slow. Try and stay as low as you can and make that last. You don't want to be overwhelming your body with side effects. You want it to work with your body rather than like putting your body on steroids almost, where it's like it's just overkill. You know, you might be losing a lot. But that's the other thing is like, you know, you think you're going to be faster because you're lighter, and it doesn't seem to work like that. You've kind of got to it's like you've got to learn how to use your new body. Like your center of gravity is going to be changing. Everything's going to be changing. And the other thing is your body will change how it handles the injection each week. So, you know, you might be on 2.5 and have full blown suppression for week 1. And then day 5, it's all sort of dwindling and gone. And then you have another injection of 2.5 and it builds up, and then you last longer on that. And then you're losing really well. And then it plateaus, and then you go up to the 5 and then you feel sick. So, you know, you've got weekly challenges as your body adapts to the dose, and that's going to affect everything. So, you know, your strategy of what you eat in your training might work in week 1. It might not work in week 4. Likewise, when you increase the dose, it might not work then. So trying to practice with your nutrition is important, but being mindful that it is subject to change. My recommendation really is to listen to your body. I knew quite early on I'd overcooked it on the bike with carbs, and I knew to back off. I knew performance wasn't going to be a thing, but accept it, draw a line. I wanted to complete. That was objective. So I knew that I listened to my body. I could feel the gurglings. I knew that I had to keep eating, but I didn't want to cross the line. And just trying to work with your body and work out and trust that you can both work together. You know, timing your meals. So when you're doing your training, make sure that you're training first thing in the morning before you're eating. Is probably the most ideal thing with Mounjaro or Ozempic, because there's not really going to be anything in your stomach. And make sure you've got a solid hydration plan. So I think I dehydrated a bit during the 70.3. It was both races were very hot days. I was shivering after the 70.3 for about 2-3 days. I remember sitting in the sun having my evening meal on the 70.3. I was sat there with my dry robe, sat in the sun. And the moment I'd go take it off or I'd go in the shade or anything, I'd start shivering. I wasn't right. I felt a lot better after the full actually than I did with the 70.3. But in the run up to the full, I'd been taking the SIS electrolyte tablets. So I'd been having 3 a day. Now there's no actual dosage rules on there, but if you look at one of the websites, it says do not take more than 4 a day. I had been taking 3 a day just to make sure I was getting sort of over 2 liters of water in. But yeah, making sure you hydrate effectively before the race and especially during the race. The hydration is really important. So if you don't hydrate on Mounjaro, dry mouth is one of the big things. So you get a dry mouth, which can lead to increased risk of dehydration if fluid intake isn't increased. It can affect your digestion. So not drinking enough will slow down your digestion. It will affect how you absorb your nutrients. So you've really got to make sure you drink enough. Drinking water does have a metabolic impact. It helps with the weight loss and regulates your blood sugar levels. So that helps to alter your metabolism and balance your fluids, really. You know, hydration is key as well for performance. If you want to perform, you really need to be well hydrated before and during the event, and obviously after. So looking at like signs, how do you know if you're getting dehydrated? Thirst is normally a good early indicator. If you're feeling thirsty, that's normally a sign that you're already beginning to become dehydrated. Having dark mouth, dark lips, dark pee, so easier for men to see, or women. Not so easy on a portaloo. You know, if you're going one of the portaloos and they're all dark anyway, you can't see. For us girls, we just, you know, if you put loo roll down first and pee on that, you'll get an idea. But other than that, you know, men are luckier in that department. You know, if you're not able to pee at all during an event, then that's possibly something quite serious. So you need to replenish your fluids as quickly as you can. It could be an electrolyte imbalance. You know, you might need to go see your GP, depending, you know, how bad it is. You know, I've had plenty of races where I've not been able to pee for an hour or two after, and then I'm fine. So, you know, it's not the end of the world, but it can be quite serious. So that is definitely, you know, if it's been several hours or a day or something, I'd really recommend going to see somebody about that. You know, fatigue, and I'm talking like, you know, really being really, really excessively tired. I mean, I felt really fatigued and I did think I was dehydrated, but you know, I was doing an Ironman at the end of the day. You know, you're going to get fatigued. You're not going to sort of cross line like, yeah, that was awesome. 15 hours later. That's how long it took me anyway. Walking a marathon takes a very long time. You can get dizziness. You can get lightheadedness. You can get lower in performance. Muscle cramps. So if you're getting muscle cramps, that can be linked to dehydration, sometimes an electrolyte imbalance, feeling nausea, rapid heart rate, confusion or irritability. So, you know, feeling a bit muddled is normally a sign of dehydration. And also decreased sweat production. So if you're out there, it's hot, you've been working hard, but you're not really sweating, that can be a sign that you're dehydrated as well, because there's no fluid to come out. So overall, sort of my take on taking Mounjaro whilst competing in triathlon or like an ultra run or anything like that is, if you can, take it during the off season, don't take it during race season. If performance is important to you, it's going to be very difficult to maintain your performance when there's so much changing week on week. You know, you're trying to learn what your body is doing, and you've got to learn how to perform at your new weight, and your weight is changing potentially each week, each day. Some days I dropped 2 pounds every day for like 2-3 days. It was ridiculous. But you know, your body is changing physiologically, and physically. You know, you're getting smaller. It's going to be less load on your knees, but you're going to lose muscle as well. So unless you're really nailing your protein intake, I lost probably about 10% of my muscle mass in those 2 months. And, you know, I was doing stuff as well to try and combat that, but it wasn't enough. If you're going to take it year round or during race season, trying to avoid taking bigger doses near to the race days. You know, hopefully you'll have been on it for a while, so you'll know how your body sort of responds, what doses works for you as a maintenance. Maybe I'm thinking like, you know, you've lost all your weight, you're on maintenance and you don't want to put back on, is having that nice maintenance level of knowing how much you can take, knowing how your body will respond, knowing how much you're going to have sort of suppression, whether you need suppression. The worst thing I did probably was taking it. I say worst. The worst thing I did was taking it like starting a month before the 70.3. I say it's the worst thing, but then Mounjaro is the best thing that happened this year. You know, like it's done me so much good. I'd much rather have taken it and lost the performance, but finished the full with, you know, I'm the weight I was before I ever had my kids. And I haven't been this weight. How old am I? Oh my God, I can't remember how old I am. So this is the lightest I've been for nearly 20 years. And I feel amazing. Like even when I was this weight when I was younger, I never felt this good. I feel strong. I feel muscular. I feel healthy. I feel invigorated. I feel great. So I don't want to say I wish I took it earlier. I wish I'd found it earlier, but then it wasn't available. So, you know, I'm happier having lower performances and being on this path that I am on now. So, you know, like being this weight and being on this journey, I'd rather tick the boxes that, yes, I got the 70.3 done. Yes, I got the full distance done. Yes, I've lost all the weight. Still got a little bit to lose, and I'm on this journey that I'm onto the next challenges now. And I'm glad I took it, but I wish I'd taken it sooner so my body could have got used to it more, or lost the weight during, I'd say, if I could have took it last year, you know, autumn, it wasn't available, but if I could have took it in autumn, lost the weight, and then come off it maybe for when I started doing the race seasons, or gone on some sort of manageable maintenance, that would have been the preferred way. So I mentioned about fatigue before. So a lot of people experience fatigue whilst taking Mounjaro or Ozempic or Wegovy. So why does it cause fatigue? Well, the fatigue is normally a side effect of the side effects. So being fatigued is normally because your body isn't able to absorb the nutrients effectively from your food. So because people tend to feel sick, they're having nausea, they may be not eating as much, they might be vomiting, slower gastric emptying. All of these changes mean that your body isn't able to absorb the nutrients as readily as you would have done without the peptide. But like, we're all individuals, we're all unique. And that's what's amazing, is there's no sort of checklist. There's no, this will work, Quite a few people say on the Mounjaro UK group, if you're not on it, get on it. It's an awesome little group community. But quite a few people will go on there and say, is there a checklist of what foods to eat and what foods not to eat? There aren't any rules. What will work for one person won't work for another. We're all individual. And it's all about finding what works for your body. It's your vessel, it's your body to fuel. You find what works for you and you own it. So all of these sort of side effects are what causes the fatigue. The fatigue isn't actually sort of a direct side effect. That's my understanding anyway. It's more of a side effect of the side effects. If you don't have many of the side effects, you probably won't have fatigue. And that's what I found. I found I didn't have fatigue other than after long training sessions. But then, who doesn't have fatigue after a long training session? You've been on the bike for 7 hours, you're going to be a bit tired. On a whole, I felt like I had more energy. And it is actually shown to provide more energy. So that brings us to the nerd alert for this week. So nerd alert, there was a study in 2019 titled Glucogen-like Peptide 1, a focus on neurodegenerative diseases. So it was a review exploring the link between metabolic diseases like diabetes and neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. It looked at the impact of the GLP-1 RAs, which are basically the peptides, the GLP-1 receptor agonists. So it looked at the effects of Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro. It looked at the impact of those on the diseases, because there's been a lot of attention on how there's a link between metabolic and brain impairment. So it looked at GLP-1 in the bloodstream already, so we produce it naturally, but it also looked at it artificially, so the synthetic versions like Ozempic. So where am I going with this? Well, emerging evidence suggests that metabolic dysfunction, particularly insulin resistance and diabetes, they can contribute to the development and progression of Alzheimer's and like Parkinson's. But the findings in the study are very interesting to athletes and coaches who want to improve energy uptake throughout the body. What they found in this study was that the GLP-1s help balance energy. So it helps regulate the energy in the body, which is kind of what I was trying to say before, is your kind of energy kind of takes care of itself. So like if you're doing endurance training and you're burning energy for a long period of time, you don't necessarily, you potentially don't have to eat the level of carbohydrates that they say. So the 60, 90 grams an hour per athlete, you might not need to even hit that. And to be fair, when I was training, I wasn't eating that much. So if I wasn't eating that much when I was training, I really shouldn't have tried doing it whilst I was racing. But then on the flip side, it might mean that you don't have to eat as much, but you still can only produce so much energy anyway. So again, there might be permanent lowerings of performance, maybe. So I don't know. The data and studies aren't really there to support that and explain how much would be ideal to take. Maybe that's an idea for when I eventually do my PhD, is to look at, somebody's going to steal this now. Somebody's going to look at how much carbohydrates is recommended for endurance athletes whilst taking the GLP-1s. It also improves mitochondrial function. So the mitochondria in your cells are like little tiny power plants. They are the power plant of the cell, and they produce energy. So GLP-1s make the power plants work better. So this helps your body produce more energy more efficiently during longer workouts. It reduces oxidative stress and inflammation. So intense exercise causes muscle soreness and fatigue. The GLP-1s, they help you reduce these effects. So, I'm not going to lie and blow my own trumpet, but, did the iron distance on Sunday. Monday, I had a few blisters, bit achy, not too bad. Today, I'm actually all right. I've got, again, a bit sore where my blisters have been. I did pop them. I know you shouldn't, but, I don't like suffering needlessly. So stabbed, blew it out, happy days. Bit achy in the muscles, but mostly just tired. I'm just kind of a bit tired, really. I've not napped today. Hey, no nap today. I did nap. I think I had about 3 naps yesterday, but none today. It does boost brain function as well. So that's there's more studies going on with about brain function. So the Alzheimer's research and the Parkinson's research is kind of ongoing. There's potentially a lot of changes going on with the brain. It helps to improve decision making and stuff like focus. So there's quite a lot of people looking at it for dopamine and ADHD. Signs that it potentially reduces seizures and epilepsy. It does change your brain or impacts your brain. They just don't really know how, so they can't sort of come out with claims on it because they don't understand the full details yet. So the GLP-1s, they improve your blood sugar control, so it helps manage your blood sugar levels better, which, to be honest, that's one of the key things I think that helps with the weight loss is the insulin, blood sugar level and insulin leveling. So when people are doing a lot of calorie controlled diets and things on the peptides, you know, personally, I think just focus on foods that will help you manage that blood sugar and insulin. So if you wanted to come off Mounjaro eventually or Ozempic eventually, is looking at how you can keep your insulin level is probably more important than what calories you're taking in. And by stabilizing your blood sugar, it helps to maintain your energy during training and obviously events, and helps prevent crashing. So that was kind of my big thing, especially when my tummy was gurgling, was I'm going to crash. And I just had visions of me doing like, you know, the Brownlee sort of staggering and someone's collecting me and helping me. Oh, well, there wouldn't be anyone there. So I'd just be collapsing on the floor. But I can honestly say during like the training and the racing is as awful as I felt at times, and I'm tired. I haven't ever crashed on energy. I haven't kind of got to that, oh my God, I can't do anymore. I felt like there's been a spark missing off like performance. But I haven't felt like, I've just felt stable. It'd been nice to get a bit more power, and maybe by losing this last bit and then going on a lower, more maintenance dose, maybe I can do that. The other thing I'm going to look at is cycling. So Dr. Tina had said about cycling, again, not an approved practice, but once you're at target weight, taking it for 2 months and then having a month off. And then it makes sense scientifically, because you're taking it, getting some of the goodness, some of the benefits on a nice low dose. You're having a month off, so your body returns to normal and settles down, and then you're going back on. It saves constantly hammering the dose up and then having nowhere to go. You've kind of got that, again, not advising anyone to do this. It's outside my remit. I'm not qualified to advise at all on taking Mounjaro. Just discuss with your pharmacist. But it does make sense in that you're sort of taking it nice low dose for 2 months, having a month off, letting your body settle down, get used to being without it, and then going back on it again. So it's kind of your body never sort of gets too used to it. So you're potentially getting all the goodness from it still, and having a bit of a break at the same time. The final section is making training manageable. So adjusting your training for Mounjaro. So what I'd sort of say is adjust your training around your jabs, or adjust your jabs around the training. So, ideally I wanted to run late on in the day because that's when I'll be running the marathon. I wanted to kind of get used to it. It's going to be a long day. Now you've got to go for your long run or whatever. But then I had food in my stomach and it wasn't the best way to train. I probably should have just trained in the morning. If I just trained in the morning, it would have eliminated that problem. I'd have got more of my training done. So although it wasn't ideal in my head, probably would have been the best way forward. Also, changing your jab day. So I started jabbing on a Friday. So I got my first pen on a Friday. I got home, I literally stuffed it in my belly, off we go, and instantly worked. So I was taking it on the Friday, but then I had all my long training sessions over the weekend and I wasn't able to eat. So I'd take it on the Friday and then I would not be hungry at all Saturday and Sunday when I had to eat for my training. So what I did was, I think I did that for like 2 weeks. And then on the third jab, rather than taking it after 7 days, I took it on day 9. I took it on day 9. I took it, instead of the Friday, I took it the Monday after. So it was a bit of a bigger gap. So I took it on the Monday and then I started taking it on Mondays. Because what that meant was I was taking it on the Monday. It would kind of be dwindling out my system a little bit by the weekend, so I could try and eat a little bit more when I was doing my big training. So maybe adjusting your jab depending on if it's impacting on your training, or you've got a set training day that's really important and it keeps going out the window. Either move the day that you do that training or move the day that you do the jab. So if you're going to move the day, check the instructions. But I believe if you move it, you can, as long as you're not taking them within 5 days of each other, you're all right. And I want to say 2 weeks. I'm sure it's 2 weeks. Don't go 2 weeks without one. You're supposed to start again at the 2.5 milligrams, I believe, if you've took a 2 week gap or more. Make sure you're incorporating rest and recovery as with any plan, and tailoring your nutrition and hydration strategies for you and your body. and being aware that what works one week might not work the next week, especially if it's early days on discovering how your body's adapting to the GLP-1s. You know, you are the expert in your body. So having that little bit of confidence to weigh up whether something's working for you or not, and trying to decide why it's not working for you. If you feel like something's not working for you, why do you feel like that? And trying to adapt it. There's not going to be a golden rule. And unless you're getting like lab tests and things, you're probably not going to find any sort of help or support off anyone else, unless you, as I say, getting the lab tests and stuff. So having that sort of confidence, saying, you know what, this isn't working, I want to try and explore something different, and having plenty of time to practice those. You know, as I say, I did a bit of silly thing, taking it so close to such big races, but my weight was just going up and up. You know, my husband turned around to me and said, you know, like, what are you doing wrong? And I was like, I don't know anymore. So many diets out there and plans, and people tell you one thing and somebody else will tell you another thing, and you just go round and round in circles. You know, I put on nearly a stone of weight last year. I had a bit of heart trouble, and I know it sounds bad, but it wasn't as bad as it was. But anyway, I had a bit of heart trouble, put on a stone, and then start this year, right, I'm gonna nail it. I'm gonna lose my weight this year. I've said that every year for however many years, I've forgotten. And you know, I said this year is going to be the year, and what happens? I put on another bloody stone. Despite all my efforts, you know, I've always gone up in weight, but I've always lost it as well, and I just wasn't losing anymore. And it's like, what am I doing wrong? And I just did not know. It was only because I was researching obesity for a research project, and it was like the obesity campaign, and I thought, well, what drugs are there on the NHS? And that's when I started looking at them. But Mounjaro had literally just come out. If you know, taking it so close wasn't ideal, I would really recommend, if you can, just take it, you know, off season. Use it September, October, November. Lose the weight, ready for Christmas. Lose the weight, ready for Christmas, and then either go on like a maintenance, some sort of cycling procedure, staying on a low dose. Shout out to MedExpress. So MedExpress, who I've been getting it from, again, this isn't sponsored. Maybe it will be one day. Come on, MedExpress, sponsor me. So MedExpress, I've been using them since my second pen, so I swapped to them. Really, really good to swap to. And they have got a £40 off. So if you want a £40 off, I'll put a discount code, or they have at the time of filming. So £40 off, and it's a referral system. So the discount code that you use, if you want to use it, it will be in the notes if you want to switch to them. It will be a discount code for either myself or someone I've referred, because I've actually got my last pen for free. It arrived, was it today or yesterday? It arrived, and it didn't cost me a penny because a few people have used my code. So thank you, everyone that's used my code. Thank you very much. You gave me a free pen. But so it might not be my code. It might be somebody else's, because, you know, I've got not only got a pen, I've got the funds for another pen now. So, you know, I don't want to be greedy. So I'll, you know, the code might not be mine. It might be somebody else's that I'm helping get the next pen. So, you know, it's great for when you're on your journey and people are asking you how well you're doing, and you can refer somebody along. And then, you know, you've helped them start their journey, because it's not snake oil. That's the weird thing is, you know, oh, weight loss drugs. It's like snake oil. We've been told, oh, you know, you're selling something that doesn't work. It does work. It does work, and it works really well, especially, as I say, in the athletes that I've known that have took it. It seems to respond really well if you're metabolically sound. I don't have any data to back that up, but that is just based on what I'm seeing and hearing in like the groups and the people I talk to. So feel free to comment and agree or disagree. So if you can, take it off season. If you want to take it near to races and race season, do so, but just be aware your performance is probably going to slacken off whilst you're doing it. And if you're happy with that, then go ahead. If you're not happy with that, maybe just wait. You know, if you think that your performance is going to increase because you're all of a sudden you lighter weight, think again. It didn't really for me. I'd say it's got easier. I wouldn't say I've got any faster. I don't know. Maybe I've got faster. I don't know. But I wouldn't really worry about that. You know, if performance is important, wait till after whatever it is you're performing for. If the weight loss is more important, and the race photos, because I'm not going to lie, I got my race photos through today, and I'm going to cry. And, you know, I've always, I know it's completely daft and vain and vanity. And, you know, these are all the qualities that, you know, the qualities I'm demonstrating right now are not the ones that we want to see. But, you know, seeing myself in those race pictures and I look like a triathlete. I don't look like the dumpy mum that I've always looked at. And that is, you know, that's just so important to me. And I know it's not commendable. I know it's silly, but it's me. And so I'm owning it. But, you know, I felt so proud of seeing those photos and I just felt so proud. Like, that's me. I look in the mirror now and I see who I think I am or who I've always seen myself to be, not the old me, not the me from a few months ago. So thank you, Mounjaro. Thank you, MedExpress, for supplying me with the magic potion that's really worked and helped me be more me. So if you would like to be featured on this podcast, I would love to chat to other people. So, you know, if you would like to join me and have something that you think would be of useful to people with regards to sports, coaching, nutrition, hydration, Mounjaro, Ozempic, anything like that. Even just, I'd love to talk to some people about their stories about, you know, because I don't want to bombard everybody with my story. I'd love to hear from, you know, like do a little interview with people. So if, you know, you want to chat with me and you don't mind having, I like to have the camera. So I have it on YouTube and on Spotify, just because it helps with, you know, accessibility. So, you know, people that need to lip read or read the captions, there's two options then. But, you know, if you want your story being heard or want to share it, or I say you know quite a bit about nutrition or sports or whatever, any, you know, CrossFit, high rocks, I don't mind, whatever you fancy. I'd love to hear from you and set something up and have a good chat and chinwag and put it on and for everyone to hear. Next podcast, I'm expecting to be about the importance of protein whilst taking Mounjaro. So there's been quite a few people commenting and posting about protein. Want to kind of cover and explain what it is and why it's super important whilst taking Mounjaro, how much to have maybe. So any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. I will respond to them on the next one. So thank you very much for listening or watching and crack on.